With less than a month until AP Lang, you need to focus on the MCQ types where you can gain points fast. Syntax and diction MCQs test pattern recognition. Once you see the patterns, you can confidently answer the question in 20 seconds instead of guessing for 90 seconds. Today, I am walking you through exactly how to spot these patterns and avoid the traps College Board sets. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that starting from 2025, for the MCQ sections, there are 4 choices instead of 5. But I still give my students the 5 choice versions to expose them to more incorrect answers. The more familiar you are with how College Board creates incorrect choices, the quicker you can spot them on the actual exam. Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to CT's AP Cookies. Over the past 7 years, I've helped hundreds of students score a 5 on the exam. I've studied this test inside out so you don't have to. Without further ado, let's get started. Here's the paragraph, and as you read, please think about why does the author uses a series of brief declarative clauses in the sentences highlighted in blue. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, let's look at the first question. In sentences 2 through 5, the structure of brief declarative statements conveys the author's sense that the claims of meritocracy proponents. Here's the thing you need to know to tackle this question in 10 seconds. Sometimes the shorter the sentence, the more simplistic the idea. Let me show you what I mean. Compare these two sentences. Version number 1, grammar mistake costs you points. Version number 2, grammar mistakes cost you points on AP Lang essays when the errors are severe enough to prevent the reader from understanding your argument. Though minor spelling errors that don't impede comprehension are typically overlooked by AP readers. The short version is absolute. It's black and white. There's no room for nuance, no acknowledgement of complexity. The long version recognizes that reality is more complicated. It adds conditions, exceptions, qualifications. Here's another example. Imagine someone says, study hard, get good grades, get into college, get a good job. That's a neat formula, right? But anyone who's actually navigated the education system knows it's not that simple. What about people who got into college but can't afford to stay? What about those who graduated from top schools and still can't find jobs given AI's impact on the job market? The brevity of claims isn't just a stylistic choice. Short sentences can mean sweeping claims that reveal oversimplified thinking. Now, let's look at the highlighted sentences. Work hard enough, we are assured, and prosperity will materialize. Play by the rules, and advancement becomes inevitable. Invest in yourself and the returns compound automatically. These are cause and effect formulas. A leads to B, do X, get Y. The brevity itself reveals oversimplification. But here's the detail most students miss. The author says, we are assured, not I believe or research shows. That phrase creates distance. It signals that the author is presenting received wisdom, not personal belief. The author isn't endorsing these ideas. The author is mimicking how meritocracy proponents talk. Once you catch the signal, we are assured, you know the author is critiquing, not agreeing. So the correct answer is A, reflect and reductive view of how success operates. Reductive means oversimplify, reducing something complex to something simple. If I say happiness is just brain chemistry, that's reductive. The opposite of reductive is nuanced and complex. Now, I don't want you to get dogmatic. I don't want you to think all short sentences mean reductive, oversimplify, and superficial. Sometimes, short sentences can be used to convey clarity, confidence, and determination. For example, look at Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Let freedom reign. That's 3 words. Is that reductive? No. It's powerful, it's declarative, and confident. Or take this sentence. She survived. 2 words, but they carry the weight of the entire struggle. The shortness doesn't oversimplify. It underscores resilience. Here's another. We persisted, we organized, we won. These short sentences convey resolve, not shallow thinking. Short sentences can also create urgency or tension. The door opened, a shadow moved, I ran. In narrative writing, short sentences quicken the pace and heighten suspense. Short sentences can even provide moments of clarity after complexity. If you've written 3 long, dense sentences explaining a complicated concept, following them with 1 short sentence can land like a punch. It gives the reader a moment to breathe and absorb. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you're reading this. The healthcare system incentivizes doctors to perform more procedures rather than focus on patient outcomes. Insurance companies negotiate wildly different rates, creating pricing so opaque that patients cannot comparison shop. Hospital shifts costs onto the uninsured to compensate for low government reimbursement. The result is misaligned incentives and administrative waste that consumes nearly a third of every healthcare dollar. We pay more, we get less. See how those 2 short sentences cut through all that complexity. After wading through dense explanation, the reader gets a moment of crystallization. The short sentences do not oversimplify the issue. Instead, they distill the consequences into something clear, easily digestible, and memorable. So context is everything. Don't walk away thinking about short sentences are all about oversimplification. Always ask, what is this syntax doing in this context? As I explained in a previous rhetorical analysis video, one rhetorical choice can have drastically different functions. The hard part is figuring out which function applies here. Alright, let's see if you can tackle this one using what we just learned. Pause the video if you need to. Let's look at the skeleton of the syntax. Do X and Y happens. It's an if-then structure, but it only offers 2 options, and both options are extreme. Question whether the game is fair and you expose yourself as someone seeking excuses rather than excellence. Either the game is fair or you are making excuses. That's it. There's no middle ground. There's no room for the game has some fairness but some structural problems. You are either a believer or a whiner. Here's the key. The author isn't saying this is how the world works. The author is showing us how meritocracy proponents think. Notice there's no "we are assured" to signal distance this time. You have to infer from the context. The whole paragraph is presenting commonly held beliefs that the author is critiquing, not endorsing. The correct answer is B, highlighting the binary thinking that characterizes their worldview. Here's what this means for you. When you see extreme either-or language in a passage that's been critical throughout, you know immediately that this is the author exposing binary thinking, not endorsing it. Spot the binary structure, recognize it as critic, and you've got your answer in 10 seconds. Now, if you're writing the argument essay, stick around for 60 seconds. This same binary trap could cost you the sophistication point. Let's say you're writing an argument essay and you claim, if schools implement later start time, then students will perform better academically. That sounds logical, right? But it's also binary. It assumes a direct cause and effect with no other variables. What about students who still won't get enough sleep because they have to take care of their families? What if there's simply too much homework and students have to stay up late? A more sophisticated version would be, when schools implement later start time and students have the opportunity to get adequate sleep, academic performance often improves, though the extent of improvement depends on factors like family support, school resources, and individual sleep habits. You are still making a claim, but you are acknowledging complexity. You are not forcing reality into a clean binary. Alright, back to MCQs. Let's move on to our next question. The author's use of phrases such as gospel, fervor of religious doctrine, article of faith, and national creed primarily serves to. Pause the video if you need to. When you see a diction question, you need to think about the connotations. What association does this word choice create? What is the author trying to make you feel or think by choosing these specific words? Let's look at what all these phrases have in common. They are all religious language. And what do we associate with religious belief? Faith, conviction, things you believe without necessarily questioning them. Things you accept on authority rather than evidence. Now, is the author religious? Is the passage about religion? No, this is a passage about economic ideology. It's about meritocracy. So why is the author using religious language to describe it? Because the author is making a comparison. The author is saying people believe in meritocracy the way they believe in religion. They don't question it, they don't demand proof, they just accept it as truth. And here's the keyword in choice B, dogma. Dogma is a belief that's accepted without question, often on authority. The author is suggesting that meritocracy has become the American dogma. People repeat it without stopping to ask if that's actually true. The correct answer is B, suggests that meritocracy beliefs function as unexamined dogma. Now, let's look at why choice A doesn't work. A says the author is acknowledging the deeply rooted nature of American values. And here's the thing, A isn't exactly wrong, but A only captures part of what the author is saying. Yes, the author is showing that meritocracy is deeply embedded in American consciousness, and the author is showing people believe it uncritically, unquestioningly. This is a really common trap on AP Lang MCQs. College Board will give you an answer choice that's technically true but incomplete. Here's the technique. When you are stuck between two choices, ask yourself, what is the author's attitude here? Is the author neutral or critical, approving or skeptical? If the tone is critical, then the correct answer usually reflects that critique. Acknowledge is neutral, suggests that beliefs function as unexamined dogma is critical. The author isn't observing, the author is judging. And B captures that judgment where A doesn't. Okay, that's syntax and diction MCQs for you. Check out my MCQ series for more quick score boosts. And if you're struggling with essays and need personalized feedback, I offer essay review services. Details in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next class.